Hi everyone, welcome back to Jacqueline Marie's Art. How are you today? In this video, I want to talk about why it is beneficial for children to be born in wedlock, in marriage. Okay, so let's start off like this. Children are a great gift, but sometimes when they are born, like unplanned or they're born out of wedlock, it could seem like a great burden to some of us. I've seen many times when I was walking down the streets, I've seen usually when you're born out of wedlock, for the most part, you usually end up with your mother. That's just usually how it goes because men would rather, have their freedom. And even though they could be taking care of the child, it's just normal for the kids to go with the mother. But here's the thing, the male presence is very important, and a lot of children grow up in a broken home, meaning that their biological mother and father is not in that home, because this is what happened in a lot of relationships, right? After people have been together, let's say for a few years, or it could be a year, excuse me, and then after the kid is born, they break up or the relationship falls apart. They might still be kind of sort of seeing each other, but it's like not solid, and you could have a relationship with another woman elsewhere. You're living with a different woman, and she's on her own or whatever. Those scenarios, right? So usually in a case like this, people don't stay alone for long or forever. So eventually the mother is going to get a boyfriend, or sometimes a girlfriend, depending, if she is into that sort of thing. So not all the time, but this is what usually happens, right? That kid sometimes is not liked by the new lover. There are a lot of stories about, girls being raped by their mother's boyfriend, or being murdered by their mother's boyfriend. This goes for, I've heard this with boy children too. The lover has killed my son. The lover has killed her and her kids. You understand what I'm trying to say? Or a lot of times, in a friend of mine, what had happened to him, he was from a broken home where it was just him and his mother. And they were doing well for a few years. And then a guy came along when he was about 18 at this time. And for whatever reason, him and the guy didn't bond. They didn't like each other. And, the mother put him out of the house, or she sent him away because the mother ended up marrying the guy. And the mother still has a big house of like 5 bedrooms. And when the new guy came along, the guy was like, I'm the king of this castle. And he was at the house one day, and the guy was like, after he was sent away, he came back one day, and the guy was like, you have one night in this house. And he could only stay there for one night. Mind you, this was his childhood home where he, grew up and so forth, and he was sent away. And until this day, he is not allowed to go back to that house because he doesn't get along with the mother's husband. But I think all that is behind him now. If his mother was to let him come back, he would try to get along with her husband. But the mother is not risking her relationship for him. She doesn't want to make her husband uncomfortable in any way, shape, or form. And the husband is happy with it just like that because he does not like her son. So, do you see how horrible this really sounds? Imagine you can't go back to your childhood home. This is very heartbreaking. So, a lot of times, this just does not work out in the favor of the children. So, how does this go? Let's break this down. Okay, a lot of kids who are born out of wedlock, they are pushed out of their homes early because the new step parent does not like them. Okay, the kid could get raped by the new stepfather. they could, you know, depending on how they swing, they could rape the boy too. But a lot of girls have fallen victim to this. They have been raped or touched or molested in some way by their stepfather. You know, they're dysfunctional. You know, there's no structure, so they just go the way the wind blows. So let me here. I have this article. You know, I honestly do not remember who wrote this article. I just took out just this part. So I'm very sorry about this. Whoever, if you hear this and this is your work, shout out to you. I'm very sorry. I should have taken the name of the article to give you your credit for your work, but this is your work. It says, when we debate the value of marriage, most attention focuses on the potential harm to children of divorce or illegitimacy. You know, kids born out of wedlock. And for good reason. Mountains of research tell us that children reared outside of intact marriages are much more likely than other kids to slip into poverty, become victims of child abuse, fail at school and drop out of school, use illegal drugs, launch into premature sexual activity, become unwed teen mothers or fathers, end up divorced, commit suicide, and experience other signs of mental illness, become physically ill, commit crimes, and go to jail. So on average, children reared outside of marriage are less successful in their careers. So do you hear how this is stacked against a child? We're not saying that kids born out of wedlock can't be successful, because there are a lot of people who were born out of wedlock and they are doing very well in life. But statistics, science, and loads of mountain of evidence have proved that the list that I just named has befallen overwhelming amount of kids that are born out of wedlock. This particular issue is very noticeable within the Black community. It is a serious issue that needs to be addressed. So in case anyone was wondering, I'm Black myself, okay? So, and this is an issue that I have noticed, and it is very depressing to notice this. So, also, I have a book here, right? It's called Hooked. I suggest that whenever you guys get a chance, you pick it up. It's a really good book. It's called Hooked. New Science on How Casual Sex is Affecting Our Children. It's by Joe S. McLaney Jr., MD, and Frida McKissy Bush, MD. So these are both doctors, you know, in neuroscience. And so you'll hear me quote them a lot in my videos because they, you know, tackle issues based on, you know, the stuff that I'm talking about. So look here, it says in their book, you know, let me just read a little excerpt for you guys. It says, and we have seen the ideal situation is a home in which children have two married biological parents. Any other situation is less ideal. Though it does not sentence the child to a compromised life, it just makes it harder for him or her to achieve their full potential. It goes on to say, right? However, because of immaturity, poorly directed peers, the pressure of society, the attraction of sex to which they are prematurely exposed, abuse, and a myriad of other factors, young people can become involved in behavioral patterns that are destructive. These unfortunate experiences can pattern the brain to make the young person repeat destructive behavior and suffer lifelong consequences, often impairing hope of achieving their life dreams and goals, even if they were born with the gifts and potential of achieving them. Children, adolescents, and young adults need guidance to make good decisions. This guidance needs to continue through more indirectly into the mid-20s, when the young person receives and widely heeds this appropriate guidance. His or her brain is actually being molded to almost habitually make behavioral decisions that will facilitate their dreams and desires. So when you are born into wedlock, you are born into a structure. We are talking healthy marriages now, with parents, that love and care about each other, and marriages that have lots of sex. You understand? This is very important, because sexless marriages might be just as dangerous as being in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, even though that's still better. So when you're born in wedlock, in a healthy marriage where parents have lots of sex and they really care about each other, you have a better chance as a child, of keeping out of jail, of falling into poverty, of dropping out of school, of going into gangs, of being a premature parent, boy or girl, because you get somebody pregnant, either you don't see the girl or the kid again, you're still the father, keeping out of prison. So do you see how being born out of wedlock is stacked against your child? And I know a lot of parents, when they have kids out of wedlock, I mean, what am I trying to say? When they have kids that are not successful, or the kid is jail prone, they're constantly getting locked up, it really hurts the parent. If the parent loves the kid, it hurts the parent. They might not say it, but deep down inside, the parent is brokenhearted behind this. But the parent is not knowing where this is coming from. They don't know that it's the having the kids out of wedlock that is causing all this bad luck to befall the child. So, and a lot of times, this destructive behavior that the kid could fall into by being born out of wedlock, the person could also die before their time. You understand? A lot of young men, because they're born out of wedlock, they come from a single parent home. We need family structure with a married husband and a married wife, not a baby mama, baby daddy situation living together, because 99% of the time those don't last, and it end up with different people in the child's life. And just like how lion cubs usually don't like the new cubs when he gets with the mother, humans are pretty much kind of the same way. I'm not saying that's always the case, but there is overwhelming amount of proof of this situation happening to know that this is no good and it's detrimental. The child is in a gang, they're a menace to society, and usually kids born out of wedlock a good amount of time become a menace to society. Not always, but there is a lot of them around to show that this could happen. You don't want this to be your child. You want to give them the best chance. Every parent that loves their kids want the best for them. You don't want your son to die before his time. Your daughter too could die before her time, shacking up with some man. She could get murdered, because abuse and domestic abuse is very rampant in out of wedlock situations. I'm not saying it doesn't happen in marriage. I know somebody will say, oh, it happened in marriage. Yes, it does. But I'm just saying all the bad luck that comes with this stuff. Overwhelming evidence that proves this. A lot of times domestic violence is rife in these relationships, and the woman end up losing her life. I was looking at a story the other day, and the guy killed her and her kid. So this is common in the Black community, where we have a lot of our kids out of wedlock, and we shack up with different people who is not the biological person, and it is just detrimental. Like, I was walking one day and I saw some woman pushing her kids. It was obvious this was an out of wedlock situation, a baby mama, baby daddy situation. And her anger, because keep in mind that sex out of marriage wounds your soul. Remember I told you about that metal bat to the soul or the spirit? You could just tell she was hurt from all of the out of marriage sex that she was having. And she was taking all of this misery and, the beating from the invisible metal bat to her spirit, man, on her children. Yelling, screaming. She just was in so much pain that the kids was getting all of this. You understand? And kids in this kind of situation, they grow up broken and crazy. So I've seen this before. Another girl, I used to get off the train early in the morning, and she would always be coming down with her 2 or 3 kids. And she was always yelling and screaming, but you can tell she loved her kids, but she was so bitter and so angry. And then when somebody stopped and was talking to her, and she said, I just want my baby daddy to give a damn. Well, in an out of wedlock situation, more than likely he won't give a damn, because that's not a situation where people usually give a damn. Not saying, they don't fall in love or whatever, but since it's a curse situation, it's a broken, it's something that needs fixing. It's broken things don't work. It's just not gonna work. You're having kids with a man you're not married to, you're raising kids out of wedlock, so it's not good for the kids, it's not good for you, it's bad for all of you. So you remember I said sex out of marriage damage you emotionally. And what do you think could happen to kids that are born in this situation? They get damaged emotionally. So if we want the best for ourselves and for our children, we have to position ourselves to get that best. How do you do that? Don't sleep with anyone you're not married to. Simple. I know it's not easy to do because the attraction is so strong, and he look so good and she is so sexy, or whatever is sexy to you guys. I know, trust me, I know. And it's being advertised to you every day in media. I know that. I'm well aware of all of this, but you have to somehow find the strength inside of you. Ask God to give you the strength so that you could save yourself, save your children from all of this. Do what's best for you and your children, because whether we want to accept it or not, this is just the way it is. We can't change this. Night must follow day, or we must reap what we sow. So let's give our children the best that we could give them. Let's give them a stable home with structure, and the gift of a mother and father that are married, so that they will have the best chance in a world that is difficult and getting even more difficult as the day goes by. Give yourself the best chance. Save yourself for your wife or your husband. You will not regret it. You are not missing anything by saving yourself. You're actually building something very valuable for you and your children. All right? So that's all I have to say today. Look, like I said, this channel is not to bash anyone. It is to address the issues that are affecting men and women, and sometimes our children. All right, so you guys take care, and let me hear what you think. Leave your comments. I would love to read them. If I get a chance, I'll respond. I'll try my best. And take care for now. Okay, bye.